So let's cap this off with the NFC West, who at the beginning you tried to say was one of the best divisions of football. Backtrack, because when you really look at it, you're like, because
when you really look at it, it's
big question mark. So
there's
let's start.
There's one great team with a question mark.
Yes.
And then there's two teams that could be good, but are also kind of question marks, and one team that I think is just a bottom feeder.
Big question mark about this division as a whole. So the Cardinals come into the season moving on from Cliff Kingsbury, who supposedly had some weird cultural thing where, like, he didn't want to piss off Kyler Murray because he's the guy. And it's like, you're the head coach, man. Like, take over the damn team.
Yeah.
But they're coming in with Kyler coming off of a pretty catastrophic injury, right?
Yeah.
Players recover from those a lot better than they used to. But again, they lose Hopkins. They don't really have a lot of weapons, and Kyler is dynamic, but he can't do it alone.
I get nervous when a player comes off a bad injury, when their talent is being mobile. He's got a great arm, don't get me wrong, but he's tiny. And the way he moves and all that stuff is part of his game. I just get nervous about that. I just think it's going to be like, oh, God, now what?
Isn't he the kind of player, though, that the way that he plays, he's small, he's mobile, you almost kind of let him ad-lib more than you would any other player because that's his skill. That's his strength.
Coming off the injury, though, is the question.
I agree. No, I agree.
Can you still do that as well? That's your talent. That's what makes him unique and that's why he was the number one pick, although I still don't really care for that.
It is what it is.
But
can't go back now.
Unfair to him, maybe, to make him the number one pick.
I agree. So, but they're a team without an identity.
Yeah.
Like, you're not
exactly.
like, ooh, the Cardinals are of this team. And I'll say this, the Patriots, it's not the right identity for today's NFL, but they're a run team, so you know who they are. We're going to run the ball. We're going to try to win by low-scoring games. It sucks. It's boring, but it is what it is. The Cardinals are not that team. And now the Seahawks, last year, Geno Smith there's no way you could have predicted that last year.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's the real Geno, though.
I'm not either, and I'd love for it to be the real Geno because, it'd be great to see him actually achieve his potential.
No way that it is, right?
But, I mean, I don't know how a person could have that many bad seasons in the NFL and then just be good. It's just not normal. That doesn't happen.
Gumshoer extraordinaire, Pete Carroll.
Yeah, maybe the coach matters. I don't know. That's the thing with Seahawks is it's like you're expecting a Geno Smith to come back and just be the same Geno Smith you had last year. And I just don't know that you're going to get the same Geno Smith. I don't know that Geno Smith last year has seemed like such an outlier from the rest of his career. It's hard to bet on it. But until he shows it's not that, you kind of have to give it some credence. And he's got some good receivers and some stuff there. And I don't know much about it. I think their defense is pretty good. A lot of people are talking about them trying to revamp the idea of the Legion of Boom type thing again. I don't know. They feel like a question mark team where, maybe they overachieved last year too.
Yeah, they do. And I feel like Geno Smith is somewhere between the worst we've seen him in last year. Because if you really look at last year into the numbers, game by game, he wasn't blowing us away with his performance.
No.
A lot of Geno Smith-like performances sprinkled in there in some of the bigger games.
Fair.
Remember, they were, 9-8 last year? So it wasn't as if they were really good. I think it was way better than we thought, which, by the way, I saw the thing the other day, and it was Drew Lock dancing on the sidelines, and it said, remember that? And I was like, no, what I remember is him losing his job to Geno Smith last year because Drew Lock apparently stinks that badly. We all made fun of that. We thought, wow, Drew Lock has to be bad if he lost his job to Geno Smith, and Geno has a 4,000-yard season and they make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So but you don't know if that's just a one-hit wonder.
No, I found it interesting as I was trying to think about things to say about the Seattle Seahawks that I could not come up with enough actual information because I was just, they seemed so like, I don't know, like there wasn't anything that stood out about him outside of Geno Smith having like this resurgent year out of nowhere was the fact that they're going to go back to their throwback 80s uniforms this year, which I really like and I'm very excited about because I don't like anything about the Seahawks' current uniforms. I'm sorry, all my friends in Seattle who love the lime green and all that stuff. I cannot stand them. I think they're the ugliest uniforms in the league. And so I'm happy to watch them go back to the old regular green, blue, and silver look from the 80s, the old Steve Largent years, which I thought was kind of a cool look. And I like throwback stuff, and that's a good throwback.
Speaking of teams that need to go back to their throwbacks now, the Los Angeles Rams, who had the perfect combination. The royal blue and gold was perfect, and they new-aged it.
All they had to do was just use that original one, and they would have had one of the best uniforms in the league, and they screwed it up.
So the Rams last year, bunch of injuries, give up on the season. McVay almost retires, ends up coming back. As you pointed out, they have veterans in the key spots, but they're a big question mark. Matt Stafford Is he going to be the same guy? Because that elbow injury was apparently almost career-threatening.
Yeah.
And they're older than you think that they are. Aaron Donald's going to still be good. How good is Matt Stafford going to be? I'm not sure. How invested is Sean McVay? I think that's a genuine question you can ask. The big problem that the Rams have is they have no capital to build through the draft at all. So this is a team that if they don't have it this year, they're not going to have it for a while.
Yeah. I mean, F them picks. It worked. It worked. You got your championship, but now you're going to probably pay for it likelihood for the next couple of years of being pretty bad. Oh, you may be good this year. You may be okay, depending on if Matt Stafford and those guys can put it together. The problem is, like we said, the depth behind them is not great. They haven't had the ability to build in a lot of young talent, and so who knows? Yeah, who knows?
Stafford was gone so long, I almost forgot that they won the Super Bowl with him at quarterback because that team had
2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
Like not even like that long ago.
No, it wasn't. And it felt like an afterthought. But I don't think they're going to be particularly good. I think that McVay is a good coach, but obviously coming up to the end of what seems like his bandwidth as an NFL head coach, and he's young enough that he can walk away. He's won a Super Bowl, like whatever. He doesn't have to stick around for very long. But I honestly feel like the Rams, the Cardinals, the Seahawks, they may actually all beat up on each other. And I'm not sure which one of those teams is better than the other. But the one team that we think is going to be the cream of the crop in this division is the 49ers.
Right.
But the weirdest part is they have the biggest question mark at quarterback. So for
everything else is perfect.
For as good as they were last year.
Everything else is perfect.
Here's my theory. I believe that last year Brock Purdy came into the literal perfect situation based off everything that happened. I mean, he's a guy that wasn't even expect. If you sat him down and said, "Did you expect to see the field last year?" He'd be like, "No."
Yeah.
Because he was so far down on the depth chart. Yep. All the things that happened had to happen. It was crazy. Lance gets hurt.
Yep.
Jimmy G gets hurt. They have to go to this guy. And then they go into Philadelphia, NFC Championship game. He gets hurt.
Yeah.
Still has to play because they have nobody else.
Right.
And just a weird situation. I think that the 49ers are getting the benefit of the doubt because Shanahan is a good coach. They still have a lot of talent on that roster. But when your quarterback is as big of a question mark as he is, we don't know. Brock Purdy is a guy, I want him to do well.
Yeah.
He's a really rootable guy, but he was Mr. Irrelevant. Like, did everybody just miss on him the way that they missed on him?
Like Tom Brady, you know?
Maybe.
But like even Tom Brady needed a little bit of time to kind of watch the game before he was, great. And so I have the same questions about San Francisco because you look at the rest of the team, right? Look at that offense, right? Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, right? I mean, a good offensive line with Trent Williams on the left tackle side protecting the quarterback's blind side. Their defense is clearly
it was great last
amazing.
year.
We know they're good, and they didn't lose pieces there. The question is, can the 7th round, the last pick in the draft, really be the best? Is the rest of their team so good that he doesn't have to be great? He just has to not screw it up? Maybe. So then you kind of go, okay, what else do you do? Well, I mean, you have Trey Lance, who you drafted with the 4th pick in the draft 2 years ago.
It was really high.
So
They traded up for him too, remember?
Do you wait and say, you know what? We're not sure what if Purdy just falls apart? Do we hold on to Trey Lance and then hope that he can come in and play? Or do we take advantage of the draft capital we may be able to get or something we can get for Trey Lance now and trade him away? Because we got Sam Darnold on the team as well, and maybe the idea is if Brock Purdy can lead this team to the NFC Championship game, I mean, how much worse can Sam Darnold be?
Oh, I forgot.
You know what I mean?
Him.
He's not a bad quarterback either.
Nope.
Well, and if you look at if you put all that talent around him and just be like, hey man, don't throw an interception, could he just do the same thing that Brock Purdy could do? I don't know. That's my question. It's like, I don't know where they're going to go with this. They're a weird team because the quarterback room is never before have I had a team that I'm like so want to say could win the Super Bowl and at the same time be like, who is their starting quarterback?
I forgot about Darnold. And Darnold's funny because he starts his career off with Adam Gase. Terrible.
Yeah.
He moves on to Carolina, has kind of a blip of what we thought we would see out of him. McCaffrey gets hurt, and he gets hurt, and that's the end of that. And he comes back and doesn't look the same. But now on this team, maybe Darnold starts the year off because Brock Purdy isn't ready to come back or what. Yeah. But Shanahan seems married to the idea that Brock Purdy's his guy.
Spot. Yeah.
But Trey Lance is the real key because they traded up to get him. Raw talent, obviously lots of upside, big dude, right? He has a lot of the Josh Allen-esque sort of criteria that you want in a quarterback, but he's had such bad luck. I mean, he gets hurt last year, which you never want to see that happen. And he comes back and he's like, all right, I got hurt. We're on a third-string quarterback. This team's not going to be very good. It'll be my team next year. Nope. What happens is the seventh round pick comes in, takes him almost to the Super Bowl. Like, worst case scenario for Trey Lance. I think there's going to be a market for him. If Purdy comes back and plays well, there will be a market for Trey Lance because one of these franchises that we talked about, whether it's your Atlantas or whether it's your Tampas, they're going to want to take a flyer on a guy like Trey Lance and hope that they can hit pay dirt. Will they? I have no idea.
And it may not happen before the season starts. This may be a perfect example of
in midseason.
Yeah, before the trade deadline, one of these teams in these shitty divisions is gonna find itself in a position where it's like, you know what? Like, if we just had a little better quarterback play, we win this division. And they may be willing to see what they can get out of San Francisco, see if they can convince San Francisco, assuming Brock Purdy's playing well or average, then they may have an opportunity to go after someone like Trey Lance.
Yes.